And we're happy to have Erna Jackson. Erna.
Yes.
Look toward me.
Yes.
From Madison Green,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And you've been here how long?
7.5 years. The time has just flown by.
Okay. We've got Erna because she's got 2 or 3 very interesting collections. And we're going to see, first of all, a collection of irons.
Yes. Do you want me to tell you a little bit?
Now, see the picture. The picture is there.
Yes.
Now let's go into that. Wow.
My den.
How'd you get started and so on?
I was trying to think the other day, and after graduate school, I had gone to a friend from graduate school, and her little boy and my children had gone camping at Lake Tahoe. We went over to Carson City to see one of her friends, and I said I wanted an antique iron. I think it was because my kitchen door blew closed every time I opened a window. So we went over and looked. I didn't find the kind. It was 15 miles on a dirt road. I didn't see the iron I wanted. So we went home the next day. I said, I like that big iron, and it's a 14-pound Chinese laundry iron. And Carson City was a pretty important place during railroad building, so I'm sure they had a lot of Chinese laundries. So that sort of started it. And then I added the other ones a little bit at a time. If you see a blue one on the end with a little tank, that's not really a sad iron. That's a little container of kerosene, and it has a flame under it. So while you're ironing with a kerosene, you have this flame and a container of kerosene go back and forth on the ironing board.
You never did use that.
I never did use that. And some of the others I just picked up along the way. I think my children sort of helped me with both.
Talk to me. Talk to me. Yeah.
My son lives in Tennessee where there's some antique stores, and he took me to the one where I bought the iron that's sort of on a platform, and you turn a handle, it irons ruffles into your clothes.
Oh boy.
And my neighbor across the street was an antique dealer, and he said it was about 1870, so it was post-Civil War. Because I really don't want to be rude, but I thought that during slavery would be the time it would be used more, but it wasn't. So anyway, then the others I've just added a little bit.
You just sort of got started, and then you began to see unique flat irons.
Yes, I saw different ones, and I have a nurse friend who lives in rural Kentucky, and I saw several. But they were duplicates. So I said, I don't need duplicates. I just need one.
Got no room for duplicates.
No, and then I have the 3 little ones I bought a couple of years ago when I was visiting with my son's mother-in-law in Southwest Virginia. And they're sample irons for salesmen. They're, let's see.
I don't know if we can see it.
They're right in front of the printer that I'm standing close to. But salesmen carried those around.
Those were small.
They're
petite.
small, about 6 inches at the most. And that way they didn't have to carry the heavy ones in their briefcase or whatever. And the lady that I bought them from the antique store said they're rather rare. So
you got started, and then you kind of your fascination grew.
It really did, and several of the general services men, one in particular said, oh, my grandmother had one just like these in the Philippines, and she always ironed it on a banana leaf before the clothes to get any soot off. So this was something I would never have known.
Of course.
So it's been an interesting collection.
Right. And if we move on, you've got another collection.
Yes.
Let's move to the doll collection.
Okay.
There we go. Oh my goodness.
Yes, and again, it was started for me really as a child. And I was telling Marcia before television, there's a Chinese doll up on the top shelf next to the right end. And we went to I lived in California. We went to San Francisco World Fair in 1939, and my sister and I each had $5 to spend, which was a lot of money. And I had to think for a long time, but I finally picked that particular doll.
And you bought it at the fair?
No, I bought it in Chinatown, San Francisco.
Chinatown.
And then we just passed and went past a doll in a doll buggy, and that was my aunt's doll. My mother's family was, that's the Chinese doll that I'm very proud of. And as I said, it was $5, and when my father asked me where my money was, I said it's in the hotel room. And he teased me that I always had money in my hand because I never spent it.
Okay.
So,
did we see the doll in
the
the
doll
carriage?
buggy, I think we went past it rather quickly.
I don't
But
know if
it-
we could-
there.
there we go.
That
Now,
was,
Go ahead, tell
that
about-
belonged to my Aunt Martha, and she gave it to me a few years before she passed away. She was in her 90s when she passed away. But very, very nice clothes. My grandmother was a seamstress, and so my mother and my aunt both had superb sewing skills.
Some of that is come right down the path.
In a
hasn't it?
little bit different form,
Yeah,
because I'm
yeah,
not a
we'll-
very good seamstress.
We'll get back to
Okay.
those skills. That's great. How many dolls do you have? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't.
You
I haven't
lost track.
counted them. I had too many to fit in that cupboard when I moved here. That was a purchase in Virginia. But my daughter-in-law's a school librarian in Tennessee, so the duplicates from other countries that weren't quite so highly valued went to her, and she's used them in school for school displays when they're studying different countries.
Great.
So they're being put to good use.
Yeah, that makes your collecting even more important, doesn't it?
More important, more fun, yes.
Yeah. Where did your dolls come from? Where did you get them? Were you in California all the time?
I was a native Californian and spent my whole life there. Some came from my parents' friends when they traveled. I have 2 Indian ones, American Indian, that came from friends. And I hadn't really, storybook dolls were gifts as a child. And then the elephants in front are ivory elephants that were a gift from my aunt and uncle who lived in Kenya.
We can see them on the
Yes.
case there. That's great.
My father immigrated to this country when he was 21 from Scotland, and his next 2 younger brothers immigrated to Kenya, which was a British British colony at the time.
Did you ever go there?
Yes.
So you've been to Kenya.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you're a lady about town, aren't you?
Right. I was very lucky to go.
Okay, so we've seen your dolls. One question that always comes up, Erna, is if somebody was particularly interested in dolls, could they come and see your dolls?
Anytime. Just come knock on the door.
Or your irons?
Or my irons. Come knock on Madison Green 513. So just come knock on the door and I'll pick up my debris on the way to the door.
Okay. So we've seen the dolls and we've seen the irons. We've got something else to see, though, haven't we, Erna?
Yes, what's taking up a lot of my time the last few years.
A lot of time, and we're going to go to what we call kneelers.
Yes.
Right? And tell me that whole story.
Oh, my daughter is very good at smocking, and we had gone to we both submitted things to the needlepoint show that's held in, I believe it's March, at George Washington's stepdaughter's home in Mount Vernon. And I won an honorable mention for one piece. And my daughter is very involved in church. We stopped by there on the way home, and our pastor came along, and I said, "Oh, I'm so excited! I won an honorable mention." And she said, "I've always wanted kneelers for our church." So that has started this long saga of making 12 kneelers.
All right, and this is what we're talking about. This is a needlepoint.
A needlepoint kneeler. It's 24 inches long and 12 inches high, and it has a rather firm cushion in it so that when you kneel, you have good support.
And I think we can show the others. How many have you made?
I'm working on my third one, and this is another one I made. This was in honor of our pastor who retired a year and a half ago. And on the end of this one, I have printed her full name, the date she started with our date, the church, the date she retired.
Uh-huh.
We started out with 12 stitchers. I thought, oh boy, 2-year project. Well, I'm on my third kneeler and we're into the 4th year, but they will get finished.
Uh-huh. You're still working on them.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. One of the things that makes that work plausible, possible, etc., you have some real equipment to use for your needlework projects, don't you?
Yes, I have a metal stand. I had been wanting one. You can adjust the height, and you clip your needlepoint frame on the top.
I don't think we have a picture of it.
No, we don't.
But it's...
It's in my bedroom in front of the television where I stitch.
So how did you get started in that kind of stitching? Not just the kneelers, but...
My friend from first grade, whom I still see regularly, and incidentally, is also a registered nurse. She was dean of a nursing school in San Diego. She got me started. She said, at least try it. Well, I took off. I loved it.
Uh-huh.
She quit needlepoint and went into beading, and I said, no. It gets a rather expensive hobby, and I said one expensive hobby is enough.
Yeah. You've mentioned, and a couple times, your background was nursing.
Yes.
Where did you go to school?
University of California in San Francisco. And then I went back to graduate school of School of Public Health in Berkeley about 1970.
Uh-huh.
And I worked for Visiting Nurse Association for several years, and I was assistant director. And it started the hospice program while I was there.
Uh-huh.
So I was working 50 and 60 hours a week, and it was really getting a little tiresome.
And yes.
And you know about that.
I've heard tell. Yes.
But anyway, it was an interesting time in my life.
Well, that's great. Are there other things that are going on? You're still doing the needlework for the kneelers. How many more are you going to make?
This is the last one I'm making. One of the stitchers has finished her first one and just started on her second. As I said, we started out with 12 stitchers, but several found out real early on that they were not stitchers at heart. So we've...
That's an interesting term. I don't think I had heard the word stitcher. Does it apply to a specific kind of work?
I think it does, because you have people who do embroidery work, and I don't know that they're called stitchers.
Uh-huh.
So it may be peculiar to needlepoint. I'd never thought about it.
Are there many stitchers? Is there a stitchers group? Do you get together?
We do the church group, and there is a stitchers group here on Thursday that I will probably be joining very soon. I had another meeting every Thursday morning for years, but that group is not meeting on Thursdays anymore. So I'm really looking forward to meeting the other stitchers here.
Okay.
And one of them is Carl. I can't think of his last name. He was on Village in Motion.
Right. We talked about his needlepoint work and showed some fabulous.
He is a fabulous stitcher. Yes, it does just apply to needlepoint, I think. He does counted cross stitch too, I think.
I believe so. Are there things about the stitching, the kneelers and so on that we haven't touched? Are there things that excite you about doing those?
I get very excited about doing them. Ones for church, I think, will be a real service to our church. I was telling Marcia earlier, the pastor who got me started retired, and at her retirement party, we presented 6 of the finished kneelers to the church, and I was telling the congregation when Reverend Beth first brought this up, my first reaction was, kneelers? we're Presbyterian. And I don't know of any other Presbyterian churches that have kneelers, but we're unique.
Uh-huh.
So everyone laughed in the congregation when I said I didn't know
All right.
we would have kneelers.
Okay. I think we want to show again these are the kneelers that these are finished.
These are all finished, yes. The 6 at church are finished.
Pardon?
The 6 that are at church are finished.
So you finished 6.
The group has finished 6.
The group has finished.
I
6.
have not finished 6.
Okay.
I've finished 2 that are up there.
Uh-huh.
And I have a finished one in my apartment ready to go to the finishers, but I'll wait till I have 2 to go.
Now, what do the finishers do?
First of all, they block it on a special board so it's absolutely square. And then there's a cushion about this thick that goes under the needle point. And then there's a sort of like a leatherette underneath that. And so
That makes it firm.
it makes it firm and it makes it hold up well.
Mm-hmm.
So
But you're working on, tell me again.
I'm working on the kneeler that has the Celtic cross in it.
Uh-huh.
And-
We've seen a picture of that, I think.
This is a little different Celtic cross, and it's just giving me frits on counting stitches.
There we go. There we
Yes,
go.
that's the one.
There we go. There's,
And I do
there's
have
the
that on the
frame.
stand.
Okay.
You can see the metal at the top. That clamps down and holds onto it. Holds onto the frame. Mm-hmm. And everything is done on a frame to keep the shape as it should be.
One of the things that we want to be sure to get in here is that Al Nielsen.
I was going to say, Al Nielsen took all of these
Al
pictures.
Nielsen took all of these pictures, so.
And they are beautiful pictures.
Yes, yes. And you have copies, I'm sure.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's our Al Nielsen, and there she is working on one.
And it's fun. Fun to
How
do.
many hours a day do you work on those?
Oh, it varies widely.
Depending on other
Depending on my social life.
Well, let's not let needle pointing interfere with the social life.
Oh, that's right.
So what do you enjoy most outside of your apartment?
Well, my daughter and family live in Burke, so I like to spend time. 2 of the boys are in college. The girls are 10-year-old and a 15-year-old, so I still see a lot of them.
Oh,
And then my son and his family come up from Tennessee at least twice a year.
and those are great visits.
Yes. And I was a great gardener in California, so I like to supervise the garden at my daughter's.
Okay. Do they have gardens?
Not too much. My daughter volunteers for many, many things and is not home a lot.
Okay.
But
okay.
she's an accomplished seamstress. She does the costumes for the high school play the church puts on every year.
Like mother, like daughter. Mm-hmm. That's great.
She's more skilled than I am, but that's okay.
Oh, well, that's pretty nice to say. Great. Well, are there other things about the needle pointing that we haven't touched on, or the
No.
irons?
No, but I moved here directly from California 7.5 years ago.
Okay.
I'm a native Californian. I was born there. I'd never lived anyplace else. But I have been really pleased about being here. I have a lot of friends, and I live on Madison Green, 5th floor, which is you can't get any place or go any place from the 5th floor. It's a destination only.
It's the end of the trip.
Well, we call it the beginning of the trip.
Oh, okay. All right. I bet that's probably.
But anyway, I think because of that, maybe we formed very much closer friends than if we had lived on a main hallway. I refer to that as living on a street with a double yellow line. But anyway, I have a lot of friends here, and I really enjoy it.
Okay, good.
And
good. Are you involved in other groups?
Yes, I'm mostly involved at church.
Uh-huh.
I'm on a committee that supports a project in Kenya. We have a school that's been there for many years, but about the time I moved here, our pastor realized people were leaving AIDS orphans on the church steps because they could not afford to feed another person.
Mm-hmm.
So we started an orphanage program, and 12 in-the-house orphans that didn't have a place to live, but they deliver rice and wheat and dry foods to 20 more families to enable them to keep the child in the family.
Mm-hmm.
And this past year, they also distributed porcelain water filters. So it's the first time they have had reliable, clean water.
Mm-hmm. Do you carry on money-making activities to help with those projects?
Yes, we carry on money-making activities.
Oh, did I just open a new thing?
Yes, one of my contributions to this year's, we call it the Kibwezi Fair. Kibwezi, Kibwezi, was a needlepoint giraffe about this tall canvas, and it sold well.
Uh-huh.
So, yes, we have a lot of fundraising activities through the church.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you contribute. Are there other things that we've sort of missed that might be interesting to residents?
I think the main thing is I travel between here and church.
You must drive.
Yes, I do, thank goodness. For a few more years, at least.
Uh-huh. At least until you decide not to.
Yes, and I feel like I'm becoming an insecure or unsafe driver, then I will give it up.
Uh-huh. Yeah, tell me. I've done that. Okay, well, we're going to say thank you very much to Erna for showing us, for letting Al take pictures of the iron collection. And you did say that if people would be interested in seeing either the dolls or the irons or your sewing, your needlepoint frame,
come on up and visit.
Yeah, that must be very unusual. I bet some other people would like to have one.
I think this would be great.
Okay. Well,
thank you for having me. This has been great.
It's been fun.
And I haven't even been nervous.
You thought you were going to be.
I thought, yes.
Well, you're only talking to me.
I know. It is. And we're both nurses, so.
That's right. We were. So we're going to talk about the future now, and we're going